Tonight on Cross Currents, the incredible story of Khun Sa, a Burmese warlord who controls a huge percentage of the world's heroin. He's clever, ruthless, and a master politician. They call him Lord of the Golden Triangle. Cross Currents with Jim Carney.
Drugs. It seems that one can't open a newspaper or turn on a television set without hearing about drugs. Cocaine, heroin, crack, and now ice. The statistics are frightening. Children, 11 years old, addicted. Babies born addicted. Lawyers, doctors, mayors, taxi drivers, all using. It seems to be all around us, yet at the same time not part of our world. But think of what it is costing the rest of us in terms of crime, law enforcement, medical and social services, and lost human potential. Lately, there has been a preoccupation with cocaine produced from the leaf of the coca plant. Most of the cocaine consumed in North America is grown in Latin America, primarily Bolivia and Colombia. But the mainstay of the worldwide drug trade is heroin, a derivative of morphine, which comes from the opium poppy. And most of the world's supply of heroin is produced in the Golden Triangle, a rugged mountainous area where the borders of Thailand, Laos, and Burma converge. And within the triangle, as much as 80% of the opium is grown in Burma. Tonight's film, Lord of the Golden Triangle, provides a rare look at the one man who for at least the last 10 years has controlled 60 to 70% of the heroin trade in the Golden Triangle. He is known as Khun Sa, which in the Thai language means the general. He has been variously described as smooth, intelligent, ruthless, clever, brutal, and an organizational genius. Khun Sa has his own army, previously known as the Shan United Army, but since 1986 as the Shan State Army. Its raison d'etre, officially, is to fight for an independent Shan state and to protect the region against communist insurgents. To give you some idea of the scale of Khun Sa's operation, in 1989, Khun Sa expected to handle about 1,200 tons of opium. That will be converted into about 120 tons of 95% pure heroin. Now, a relatively small percentage of that comes to North America. Some of it goes to Europe, but 70% of the Golden Triangle's heroin is consumed within Southeast Asia. There are millions of addicts in Thailand, Burma, Laos, and probably in southern China, Cambodia, and Vietnam. The economic and financial factors driving the drug trade are well known, but tonight's film explores the political factors that drive heroin production in Southeast Asia. First, of course, it does generate a lot of money, some of it hard currency, and that will buy corrupt officials who then have a strong vested interest in perpetuating the system. But there are many other less mercenary imperatives. The Shan are a major hill tribe in Burma who want their own separate state. In 1963, Khun Sa, then in his 20s, was authorized by the central Burmese government in Rangoon to establish a militia in the Shan region to control Shan rebels. A year later, having created an 800-man army, he severed ties with Rangoon and moved his headquarters into one of Burma's richest opium-growing areas. There, he built one of the first refineries for processing raw opium. He then re-established his credentials with the Burmese government and used his official status to smuggle opium caravans into Thailand. Over time, he expanded, building more refineries and gradually taking over from the old generals of Chiang Kai-shek. In the process, his militia became transformed into the Shan United Army, ostensibly hostile to Rangoon, making Khun Sa a hero in the eyes of the Shan people. At the same time, he represented Rangoon's interests by discouraging Chinese communist insurgents. But the Burmese communists are thought to control as much as 1/3 of the poppy-growing areas, for which they need Khun Sa's refineries and transport systems. As far as the Thai government is concerned, because Khun Sa and his army purport to be hostile to the radical, socialist, militaristic regime in Rangoon, he might be useful someday. But even if the Thai and Burmese governments wanted to shut Khun Sa down completely, they'd have a tough time. His early warning, logistical, and escape systems are just too good. They can't get at him. Finally, and most importantly, from the Burmese and Thai government's point of view, if the people don't grow opium, what would they do? Where else would they find a labor-intensive, high-yield crop that can be grown on small plots in rough, rocky terrain and marketed easily at very high prices? Take that away from the people, and they could turn communist. And of course, other than opium growing, Khun Sa offers the only job in town. So meet the general, a good man to have in everybody's corner.
The Shan Hills of Burma, a lawless country in a land known as the Golden Triangle. In these valleys, an army is on the move, and they want the world to play their tune. The Shan people have been described as beggars sleeping on a bed of gold. For their land is rich in minerals. But today, the gold comes from the cultivation of the poppy. From the poppy comes opium. And from opium comes heroin. From these fields, and thousands like them, 2,000 tons of opium are now being released onto the world market. When refined, this, the largest ever crop, will make 200 tons of heroin, enough to supply the world for 5 years and create a new generation of drug addicts. Most of this lethal harvest is controlled by one man. His message to the world, make me an offer. A rebel army inside Burma, one of 12 armies fighting the Burmese socialist government. But this army is different. What happens here affects the world. They're commanded by a man described as the biggest heroin trafficker at large today. He is Chan Shi Fu. He prefers to be known as Khun Sa. In English, Prince of Prosperity. He commutes to work daily with armed bodyguards. Thailand, Burma, and the United States have all put a price on his head. But he's the most unsought of wanted men. He claims he's fighting a war to liberate the Shan people. America calls him a criminal. Criminal or freedom fighter, Khun Sa is accused of holding the world to ransom. He's established his headquarters at Homong, the gateway to the Golden Triangle, where Burma joins Thailand and Laos. His aim, to control the richest heroin border in the world. At his base, he makes no secret of his plan.
If we are able to conquer the border, we can control all thieves and robbers. We can stop all the fighting in both countries, and I can control 80% of the heroin trade.
This army is trained to defend drug routes and heroin refineries. But Khun Sa says if his rebel state is recognized, he'll abandon the opium trade for good.
I'm
I'm a politician. I wish to drive out those who think our homes in our suffering country should be burned. My first aim is to get the same rights for my countrymen as the rest of the world. If I can do this, I will make my 8 million people happy. But for the world to be happy, I also want to stop opium.
The no man's land between Thailand and Khun Sa's camp is hostile country. Foreign journalists found in these hills face summary arrest by Thai border police. A pact between Burma and Thailand serves to conceal what really happens here. So after secret meetings with Shan soldiers, we crossed the closed border to keep our appointment with the general. After an arduous journey and being guided through a minefield, we arrived at Khun Sa's camp in time for a dawn parade. Khun Sa's politics of opium. The soldiers are inspired with nationalistic fervour against their traditional enemies, the Burmese, whom the Shan have been fighting for 30 years. Every morning they chant their freedom song. But for now, their hostility is steered towards another enemy, the American Drug Enforcement Administration, the DEA.
The DEA, myself, and the people of the world want to see the end of opium. But you shouldn't tell lies and messes about. Instead, if you come and really work to make opium disappear, then it would not be so difficult.
It's a bizarre campaign. Soldiers taught to distrust the DEA settle down to watch all-American heroes on video. And Khun Sa's dealers move freely enough in Thailand despite the DEA's large army of agents. Hiring Rambo movies is one of Khun Sa's simpler transactions for his young recruits. These young boys are the General's Youth Brigade. They're told their General offers to sell his opium to the Americans every year, but America refuses to listen. While no government will negotiate with him, Khun Sa is allowing his drugs to go to crime syndicates in Hong Kong and America. He claims he has 20,000 soldiers, but many are children. This boy, Sai Shui, is something of a veteran. He's been here 2 years already. He's now only 10 years old. He comes from an opium-growing family and wants to be an officer. Maybe he will by the time his shoes fit. The general's flag mocks the Thai government, which 7 years ago boasted to the world that they had smashed his movement. Today, Khun Sa is calling his first summit meeting. Up to 1,000 village chiefs and religious leaders have been invited from throughout the Shan state. Khun Sa woos his people with a combination of rich hospitality and a promise of political freedom. The date of the meeting is carefully chosen, Shan Independence Day, the independence promised by the British in 1947, but never since granted. Each delegate has been paid £25 to attend, with food and lodging for a month. That's in an economy where incomes average £100 a year. Amid the hospitality, some delegates at least will be suspicious of Khun Sa's commitment to the Shan cause. The general is half Chinese. In earlier days, he fought with the Burmese against the Shan. Generous supplies of Shan whiskey may not erase that memory. Today, however, the general plays a trump card. Khun Sa, Mr. Thunderclap, is the rebel president and Khun Sa's political boss. He's widely respected by the Shan people and openly admits he's an opium dealer. He's brought his own private army to join with Khun Sa. Khun Sa refers to Khun Sa as his noble uncle, a man who has brought money and political clout, not to mention credibility, to the Shan cause. If Khun Sa leads as well as he sings, says Khun Sa, independence is certain. The singer calls on everybody to join in. Today, let it be 500 or 600 singers. Tomorrow, we shall have 6,000. When we have 600,000, we shall achieve independence.
I am working for the benefit of the Shan people and the Shan state. So is Khun Sa. We have the same aims. I want my country to have peace and prosperity and to achieve independence for the Shan states. So all our objectives are the same as Khun Sa's.
The alliance of these two figures with their long careers in the opium business now poses the biggest ever heroin threat to the West. But while the general is officially Thailand's most wanted man, Thunderclap actually lives there in some comfort and spends his holidays at Thai beach resorts. Not for him the furtive border crossing we had to make to be here. Opium, it seems, opens doors.
Well, the Thais have their laws, but there's not much restriction. Sometimes it's a little bit difficult because we cannot go as freely as we like. We have to give them a little of our opium.
After the sugar, the pill. The visitors have to attend a lecture given by one of Khun Sa's commanders. They're told that the only way to independence is by following Khun Sa's wisdom and using Khun Sa's strength. Even the monks, who led recent city demonstrations against the Burmese government, learn that the only way forward is by selling opium. Khun Sa's guests come from villages like this, Nong Or, 5,000 feet up in a typical opium-growing valley. The people are poor. Their only cash crop is the poppy. Nong Or is also the home of boy soldier Sai Shui, who's returning accompanied by his friend and neighbor IP. Sai Shui persuaded his friend to join the army last year. They learn to read and write, and it's the only job around with career prospects. In January and February, they get extra time off to help with the harvesting. Here, opium touches most people's lives. In the village, they don't care about the politics of Khun Sa's army. They just know their sons go away to be soldiers and their daughters marry the soldiers. Then the soldiers come back to guard the crop that is their future. Already, some of the opium here has been harvested. Sai Shui's father molds the opium resin and packs it together in weights of just over 1.5 kilograms. He expects a crop this year of 6.5 kilos. He'll probably get about $600, which will pay off his rice debts. These people share little of the wealth that narcotics bring. Half the opium goes to the United States. Once refined down to pure heroin and cut with other substances, this batch will fetch nearly $1 million on the streets of New York. After a 2-day walk, the boys arrive home. Their last village was burned by Burmese troops. Now they live under Khun Sa's protection. An opium poppy, once scraped for its juice, will give up its resin for only 3 days. Drops of white sap released on the first incision are left to burn in the sun. Few of these farmers have seen its lethal derivative, heroin. They know little of the rising crime rate or of the deaths the drug causes in the West. They just buy the seeds from Khun Sa's traders. Boys like Sai Shui have been brought up with opium all their lives. But it was the British who introduced the poppy to the Shan states 200 years ago. These fields once belonged to a Chinese opium army who were controlled by the CIA. The seeds of the poppy are planted in the late summer, and the flowers bloom from January to March. They're ready for harvesting once the petals fall, leaving only the green pod, now rich in opium sap. When the white sap has turned to a brown, sticky mass, it's ready for collection. This year, it's a record crop. But in any farming community, there's usually a pessimist.
I don't grow rice because there are no paddy fields here. So I grow opium. But I never know how it will turn out. If it's a good year, I make a lot of money. If it's bad, then I lose.
These small packages of opium, measured by the weight of torch batteries, will soon enter the world of organized crime in which Khun Sa says he plays no part. He claims he's only a taxman, but he's hardly the average civil servant.
I do not collect taxes from the farmers who grow opium. I pity them because they earn their livelihood by physical effort and by the sweat of their brow. I only collect taxes from the traders.
Taxman or drugs trafficker, most of the heroin money goes to his army and buys increasing quantities of guns and ammunition. They're bought or captured, and some are even relics from the Second World War. But most are smuggled across the border from Thailand. The general is very proud of his arsenal. At moments like this, Khun Sa is at his happiest.
English. This is a British. This is a 60mm mortar. This is also an AK. Huh? G2. G2. This is G2. Made by Germany.
Now he has one of the best equipped rebel armies in Burma.
Very good. Not very good. Very good. No good.
Why is one better? The general's wily aide, here explaining their arsenal, is Khun Sa's go-between with the Thai military.
You have to take good care of them and to oil them all the time.
These guns are now needed for the general's next move, to clear the Thai border of all opposition, to fortify his opium kingdom, and to clear the roads needed to send the heroin to the west.
HK 呢没留呢 HK เขา开放กลุ่มนี้开放เมืองไทยว่าไหนเป็นของเมืองไทยออกอ่ะ
Khun Sa recruits 200 men a month to reinforce Shan demands for recognition by the West.
If you want all the drugs to disappear from the Golden Triangle, you must approach us. Because the Golden Triangle is our land, and we are the owners.
Khun Sa is keen to show he's approachable. To improve his image, the general now prefers to be seen as a man of the people. The Shan are simple farming folk, just like himself, he says. And to record this moment, his own cameraman is close by. His almost regal walkabouts are always accompanied by guards, a reminder of his 25 years as a heroin trafficker.
Tired. Tired. Are you tired? Tired. Are you tired? Are you tired?
Khun Sa claims he wants his people to grow rice and vegetables instead of opium, but what simple peasant farmer is attended by visitors like these? Outside the general's guest quarters, we found a group of VIPs from Thailand arguing over a map. They were here to do business with Khun Sa and were anxious not to be filmed. They were escorted here by a Thai military agent. The agent, wearing the peaked hat, said he represented Thai army officers who were secretly backing Khun Sa. Like any good businessman, Khun Sa plows his profits back into the firm. Construction of the new barracks goes on from dawn to dusk. The buildings are needed for the regular intake of recruits brought from deep within Shan State. These boys are from the opium-growing Wa Hill tribe. But they soon learn that here, opium is forbidden. And all of them know the penalty for smoking it.
Death.
Recruits are forced to watch the executions of soldiers caught smoking opium. But for the ordinary people, the drug is still a way of life. The Shan call opium black medicine. For many, it's a nightly ritual. This young man is a poppy farmer addicted to his own crop.
When I smoke, I feel fine, my body feels good. But when I don't smoke, I can't eat or sleep or even walk properly. I am scared of getting caught, but it's very difficult to stop as I am addicted. I have seen heroin once or twice. If I could get hold of some, I would quit opium. But here, there isn't any heroin, and I wouldn't have any money to buy it anyway.
Khun Sa keeps his army in a permanent state of readiness. Handguns, grenades and automatics are scavenged from many sources. But mostly he buys them from his supposed enemies. So the soldiers load Thai army bullets into their American guns. While some soldiers are conscripted, many have fled from attacks by the Burmese army on Shan villages. The Rangoon government has been at war with its ethnic minorities ever since independence. Most of these recruits receiving guns for the first time share a common bond, hatred of the Burmese. Some are students who fled from the cities after recent demonstrations against the Burmese government. This Rangoon University history student, Sai Pan, lost 2 friends killed by the Burmese troops.
I hate Burmese, the occupied nations, and I hate the Burmese government. I don't like their policy of BSPP by Burmese government.
But some people say this army is just trading in narcotics.
No, I don't think so. I think because our general have tricking, but now he don't trade.
But even if the soldiers want to fight the Burmese, Khun Sa has other plans for the time being. From Hamong, he plays his enemies off against each other. His army is facing away from Burma towards the border with Thailand, where the opium crosses. Proof, say his critics, that he's no freedom fighter. Khun Sa's army seldom clashes with the Burmese troops. Some say he's paid them to stay away. Khun Sa simply replies that he's learned a few tricks from his former British masters.
You have taught us to have fewer enemies by fighting today's enemy, and to come to terms with the probable enemies of tomorrow, and the enemies of the day after tomorrow.
Every day, heavily armed units are moved up towards the Thai border to help the opium on its way. They believe that once they've won the opium war, they will win their war of independence. They're happy with Khun Sa's strategy. This is a foot soldiers' war. These roads around Khun Sa's camp soon give way to narrow jungle paths. A column of 400 men heads towards the border, alerted by a report of intruders coming into Shanland. In their packs, the soldiers carry everything they need for patrols lasting a month at a time. This battalion commander has been with Khun Sa for 25 years. Not long ago, some of the men now in his command were Khun Sa's sworn enemies. Greater Shan unity means a tighter control of the opium, and the general has emerged as the opium king. Now, clashes are few and far between. With Khun Sa's adept diplomacy, they happen more by accident than by design. Nevertheless, control of the opium is vital. From hilltop positions like this, commanding 2 valleys, they can watch 3 different opium routes. Nobody will consider entering this area lightly. The intruders are believed to be forces of the Burmese Communist Party, the BCP, who also rely on opium to maintain their army. Khun Sa is achieving 2 aims by publicly fighting the communists. He's controlling more opium and also indirectly helping the Burmese and Thai governments who seem to prefer opium warlords to Marxists. For the time being, at least, it's not in the interests of the Thais or Burmese to attack him, and the Shans are happy to fight the communists.
They come into our area and give us trouble. Sometimes people have to run. We are always on guard. If they come into my land, I'll kill them within 24 hours. Just let them come into my territory.
3 battalions of Burmese Communist Party troops have come down from the Chinese border to establish bases near Thailand and secure their own opium gates to the west.
Of
the 2,000 tons, the communists control some, I control some, and the Burmese themselves control some.
Khun Sa's claims that Burmese military also deal in opium are put with some conviction. He learned the trade himself while he was a government militia commander. And he used to be on close terms with Burmese leaders.
The Burmese control 20%, the communists control 20%, and I control 60%.
Khun Sa is winning the opium war, and there have been mass defections from the communist army. From hilltop observation posts, the general's troops monitor the BCP's movements and report back by radio.
Last night, at 11 p.m., our forces clashed with a unit of 80 communists and 1 Ray. Our men, led by Sai Han, fought for an hour before the enemy retreated. We captured 4 AK-47s, 2 M21s, a mortar, 240 rounds of ammunition, 4 kilos of brown sugar, and 4 kilos of opium. We report 6 enemy dead, wounded unknown.
The captured opium will be refined by Khun Sa's dealers and sold on. These are Khun Sa's interceptors. Some units remain camped in the jungle for weeks, just waiting for one rival shipment of opium to pass by. But throughout North Burma, far beyond the range of his army, traders still have to sell to Khun Sa's agents. He controls the gateway. Across the border through the gateway in Thailand, it's a different kind of war. Khun Sa openly operates supply bases under the nose of the Thai army. His control center is here in Chiang Mai. The general's medical scheme assures private care for his officers at this Chiang Mai hospital, where they get treatment for anything from gunshot wounds to hernias. They can convalesce at the Shan headquarters near the town center, and there's even a bus to take them back into hiding. It's from houses like this that Khun Sa has been accused of sending out assassins to eliminate opium rivals. America often has to evacuate its DEA narcotic agents because of death threats. Khun Sa, not surprisingly, denies any involvement in the killings.
I'm surprised. Why is it that I, Khun Sa, am made to be so notorious? They accuse me of clandestine shootings and killing people in Bangkok and Chiang Mai, which I have not done. My political work is just to gain rights for the 8 million Shan. I do not dabble in drugs. Only the DEA does so. Along with the opium dealers, they have killed 15 of our people in Chiang Mai, Mae Sai and Mae Hong Son. All told, 45 of our people have died at the hands of gunmen hired by the DEA to kill us.
The
shootings on both sides make headlines in Thailand, but few people are successfully brought to trial. The DEA puts pressure on the Thai government to step up drug arrests, but Khun Sa claims they use heroin to play politics.
DEA is CIA. CIA is DEA.
A Lisu hill tribe village in northern Thailand, where an anti-narcotic raid is about to begin. America has given over $10 million towards funding these operations by the Thai government. On paper, raids like this are successful. Statistics show that Thailand has reduced its own opium fields by 70% in the last 10 years. However, harassed by the military, some of these hill tribe communities just flee across the border into Burma. There, under Khun Sa's protection, they can freely grow opium again. While fields in Thailand are destroyed in much publicized operations, opium production in the Golden Triangle has actually increased by at least 20% in 12 months. In this raid in northern Thailand, the military have arrived too late. The villagers were, as often happens, pre-warned. The poppy has been harvested, and the opium is already on its way to illicit refineries. But soldiers go through the motions anyway. With nothing else to do, they mercilessly set about destroying the dead poppies. For years, Khun Sa openly kept his army in northern Thailand. But in 1982, responding to international pressure, Thai border police attacked his headquarters and forced him over the border to Burma. But there the pretense ends. This is a phony war. Khun Sa still keeps houses and wives in Thailand and an accountant in Bangkok. And from the convenient safety of his stronghold, he controls the free flow of heroin across the border. General Chavalit Yodmane, the man delegated to stop Khun Sa, lists the attractions of his country for the Opium King.
Over in our country, I would say we have better road network, and we have a better outlet throughout the whole world. We have a good airport, seaport, train service or road network, so drug tends to come through or transit our country more than going out the other way.
This road is supposed not to exist. According to the Thai government, it's been blown up. In fact, it's the main road to Khun Sa's camp, built by the Thai government. These border police should play a critical role. Their job is to crush Khun Sa. Thailand has received $26 million from America alone for manning points like this to stop him. But there goes the plumbing for his new camp. And there go daily rice rations for his troops. While in the other direction, close by, comes opium. The opium is brought in mule convoys from northern Shan states to border jungle refineries. It's then reduced to the purest heroin, known as number 4. But there's another commodity more difficult to hide, which crosses the border in quantity. It's worth even more than the millions Thailand gets for drug suppression. A deal has been struck allowing Thai agents to visit Khun Sa's camp. Secret visits like this to the general's headquarters are not unusual. The commodity they came to buy is timber. Having destroyed its own forests, Thailand now needs wood. First they pay the Burmese for the timber, and then they pay Khun Sa. In his contract, the general stipulates that the Thais do not bring along their American friends. Thus, Thailand is secretly trading with the world's biggest heroin trafficker. It's a fact which Chavalit justifies in his own way.
Well, we have to buy some woods. That's normal, I suppose.
But the Thais have signed a second agreement with the Burmese to go in hot pursuit of the elusive general. In fact, Khun Sa often drops by to see his Thai military chums. Has Khun Sa passed here, we asked? Yes. When? Several times, but not very often. This year? Not yet. Last year? Yes. He came several times, but he'd just passed. But isn't Khun Sa forbidden to come here? He can, but he must get permission from a senior officer, not of my unit. If the senior officer wants him, we send a message asking him to come down.
I have heard that Khun Sa and several leading members of his army can come into Thailand and travel quite freely.
If he disguises himself and we don't know about it, then he can probably come in. But if he comes in and we know and we arrest him, we would probably prosecute him.
But I have heard that he comes down the border road in his car and crosses the border point only 5 miles from his base. Is that possible?
I don't know. I never heard about it because we have not watched that road all the time.
But there are...
Which road are you talking about?
The road that leads from the Thai border to his headquarters at Khon.
We try to cut it off, right. And he repair it again. Right. And then we will cut it off again, right. So that he would not use the road. I had never heard that he used that road himself.
The Thais do what benefit themselves. Now that they see the DEA is not giving them any more money, they come and befriend us. If the DEA gives them money, they fight us. If the DEA do not give them money, they befriend us again.
Efforts at drugs control in Thailand are the occasion for much backslapping. But what sort of hunt really is going on for Khun Sa? We went to the DEA regional headquarters in Bangkok to find out. They were ready to do an interview in this office, but withdrew at the last minute after seeing our questions. They answered by letter instead.
Khun Sa has profited from a combination of native intelligence, guile, luck, perfidy, political acumen, public relations, bribery, and appealing anti-Burmese rhetoric to advance himself and his organization. He plays all sides against the middle while he continues to refine and sell more heroin than any other single organization in the world. His prediction that 2,000 tons will be harvested in the Golden Triangle this year is quite real. This would be by far the largest harvest ever in the Golden Triangle. As guests of the Thai government with a very positive history of cooperation for many years, the DEA is not about to voluntarily embarrass our hosts.
Thailand is the first country to suffer from this flow of heroin. It comes to these Bangkok slums before its onward journey to the rest of the world. The local organizer of the United Nations Fund for Drug Abuse Control says addiction has just leapt by 20%.
The official figure is that there is about 300 to 500,000 active drug addicts in Thailand, mostly heroin addicts living in Bangkok. This means that Thailand will need lots of drugs to maintain the habits of this huge drug population. Because Thailand is a success story regarding the reduction of illegal supply of drugs.
The Thai side of the Burmese border. In 10 raids on secret jungle refineries, a mere 200 kilos of refined or partially refined No. 4 heroin was seized last year. But at least 100 tons came through these woods. The Thai border police were set up in the 50s with CIA advisors to fight communist insurgents. But for many years, Thai police generals actually controlled the opium routes and reaped the benefits. 12 years ago, the Shan people proposed a 6-year plan to eradicate opium from their country. They asked for $150 million and were regarded as blackmailers. Now the opium harvest is up by 300%. The UN representative does not hide his frustration.
We will not see a radical breakthrough in opium production before some kind of political agreement has been reached between the government and the ethnic minorities in Burma.
Does that mean you think that the Burmese should negotiate with Khun Sa?
This would at least be my personal point of view after being in Burma for some time, that this is one of the essential requirements if you are looking for a radical breakthrough in opium production in the Golden Triangle.
Backed by his people's army, Khun Sa has been able to outmaneuver the world's anti-narcotics agencies with the knowledge, if not complicity, of governments. With 200 tons of refined heroin currently pouring out of the Golden Triangle, perhaps the time has come to listen to the voice of the Shan.
One of the ironies of the drug trap in which we find ourselves is that, in a sense, we started it. In the late 18th and early 19th centuries, Portuguese and British traders began importing opium and tobacco into China from India. By 1839, the British government in India was getting 20% of its revenue from the opium trade. China had quickly recognized the danger of the drug and had outlawed it in 1800. This led to the so-called Opium Wars. The British won and forced China to grant trading privileges to Europeans in such ports as Canton and Shanghai. Then, in the 1950s, the defeated remnants of Chiang Kai-shek's Kuomintang army, escaping into northern Burma, encouraged the opium industry there. And in the 60s and 70s, it was in part the American presence in Vietnam that saw local opium growing transformed into the international heroin trade. In the 1980s, drugs are emerging as perhaps North America's most critical social problem. Next week on Cross Currents, we look at one of the world's most remote and forbidding countries. Tibet has long been a symbol of isolation, mystery, its culture the embodiment of peace and tranquility. In 1933, when James Hilton wrote Lost Horizons, his mythical paradise of Shangri-La was thought to be located in Tibet. Yet Tibet has been ravaged by the 20th century as few other countries have been. Since 1950, it has suffered under the brutal occupation of the People's Republic of China. China insists that Tibet is part of its territory, a status that Tibetans have resisted at enormous cost. An entire generation of Tibetans has known little but conflict, starvation, death, and exile. In 1988, at great personal risk, British journalist Vanya Cooley traveled through Tibet, surreptitiously filming the conditions under which Tibetans now live. It's a story of suffering, endurance, and faith. Here's a preview of Tibet, a case to answer.
There's no mistaking the Chinese presence in towns like Lhasa. The Chinese have taken over most traditional Tibetan jobs, tailoring and shoemaking, for instance, as well as running most of the shops and small restaurants. They come mainly from Sichuan, 1,000 miles to the east, encouraged by special allowances and deals, which means that they can earn up to 2 or 3 times as much in Tibet as they can back home. By contrast, unemployment among Tibetans is running at about 70% in Lhasa. The Chinese live in segregated compounds, in subsidized housing with electricity, running water and sewage. Tibetans largely huddle in overcrowded slums with no basic amenities.
Next week on Cross Currents, Vanya Cooley's Tibet, a case to answer. You know, for most of these programs on Cross Currents, I've prepared viewer's guides. Each one is a brief summary of the history and politics surrounding the subject of each film. They're easy to read, and I think you'll find them informative and useful, particularly for teachers, high school students, and adults who like to be informed on current events. So write or phone us about them. Thanks for watching. For Cross Currents, I'm Jim Carney. Good night.
Viewers' guides for each program in the Cross Currents series are available at a cost of $3 each or $25 for the full set of 10. You can obtain your guides by writing to The Knowledge Bookstore, Post Office Box 94,000, Richmond, BC, V6Y2A2. If you prefer, you can phone the bookstore at one of these numbers, 660-2190, or toll-free 1-800-663-9711. And you can charge the order to your Visa or MasterCard. Once again, the cost of these informative guides is $3 each or $25 for the set of 10. Order yours now.
Ha 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 ha!